My number 4 is actually I gotta go Talk to Me. I gotta do it. I gotta go.
There you
I
go.
gotta go with Talk to Me. This is just one of those movies. It stayed with me all year. I love good. I love a good horror movie. I love a good horror movie that kind of like infuses other things, and this just happens to be in that perfect style of horror that really works for me. I love that it's all crafted around this idea both of like addiction, but then also social media and internet culture and how well and effectively it pulls that all together. Like this is the example of like you are YouTubers and you're really good at the type of thing that you might also want to critique. You're good at making that kind of content, and then you take everything you know and you put that into a movie and make it so interesting and riveting with great performances, and you maintain your authenticity of turning down a higher budget to work with an American studio so that you can keep that production in Australia where you're from with the people that you're finding, and giving those newer talents a chance to actually shine. Because now we're seeing Sophie Wilde in more things. The person who plays Zoe Tarakis is in Marvel stuff now, or is going to be in Marvel stuff. Like really, really great performances, and I love the integrity of sticking there. It's just stuck with me all year, and I made that video, and it also resonated with a lot of people, and it was really one of those like indie massive successes of the year. It is A24's most profitable movie of the year. It is dwarfing and shadowing all sorts of stuff that they would have expected to do better, that I'm sure people here probably expected to do better. We've been saying since January that this is the exact type of project that A24 needs to start investing in. Again, A24 did not make this. It was already made. They picked it up for distribution. It was just a very smart distribution choice for them to kind of get out of the idea of that like elevated horror box everybody wanted to put them in. This is outside that. It's still smart in a lot of ways, but it is very accessible compared to something like a Hereditary or a Midsommar. It's really good. It stuck with me. So it's getting the number 4 spot. I like it.
This was one that should have been in my top 10. I have it at 13. That was
get
the
it.
one that I
That's-
had to honor right at the beginning. And like you said, their perspective is just so refreshing. This was a year in horror that you and I were talking about being a little disappointing for the big franchise stuff.
Yeah, big franchise stuff, and even the stuff that people are trying, the indie stuff, they weren't quite hitting. This like everything hits, and some people were confused about certain aspects. But I think it just leaves a lot of areas where you can talk about things, or if somebody just says, no, it's supposed, this is what they're getting at, then you see it and you're like, oh my God, that's so smart. That's great. So I think there was they have more. Yeah, they can go a lot of ways. I think it is an incredible ending. Yes. Oh yeah. That's greenlit. Oh, the ending is just,
it's
so
almost too good that I don't need another one, though.
I know. I agree with you in that, but I would be okay with them doing other like stories in the universe. But even if they want to do it,
because there's multiple hands, yeah.
Yeah, there's 2. And I had people arguing with me about that and stuff. But that's what I mean. It's fun to talk about. It's fun to kind of debate about different things for this movie. I was literally like, no, you're wrong. I'm like doing perspectives. I'm like, this is the angle of the hand. This is the this. So it has to be this, just to prove I'm right. But yeah, no, it's really fun, and it is really the ending for me that sells it. And I know that not everybody necessarily loved it, but I really do think it's one of those things. If maybe you just took like 5 minutes to like really think about what you don't like about it, and somebody maybe explained why you didn't maybe pick up on something, it makes it better. But it's also fine if you don't like it.
I don't know if you got these 2 in your review, because I got it when I was talking about it as a festival recap. You only like it because it's YouTubers?
God, no. I probably did get it. Well, no, because I feel like I really stressed that I was like, this is like, normally when you hear a YouTuber makes a movie, it's god awful.
Right.
That's what I said that.
Context. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also the very same festival where we all negatively reviewed Onyx the Fortuitous. So
exactly.
Thank you. But when I'm covering like 40, 60 movies, why did that particular one bother you? And then that's when I really started getting into what a lot of people disliked about it. It was the hype.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I can't wait for it to I can't wait for it to simmer down. So then the people who didn't like it realize that was really what they're pushing back on. And we go to a lot of these festivals, so we know the hype of like wanting to not like something or wanting to over like something because we're there. This was like an aftermath. I got it a lot with Hereditary when I came out raving about Hereditary at Sundance, and people were like, "Yeah, you're just overhyping it." But then it was the introduction to Ari Aster, and now everyone who insulted me is looking forward to the next pick. Talk to Me was that next pick. And I know that for a lot of people, their first argument, like you said, is some little things that they weren't paying attention to.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be your cup of tea.
It doesn't have to be. Yeah, absolutely.
But for the most part, a lot of them have been just the idea of of this was getting way too hyped and I preferred another horror movie.
Which is fine. That's great.
Exactly.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But that's not a critique fully.
Yeah, but this got hyped because it hit with people
Because it's good.
immediately. It's
So in
good.
due time, I think if people rewatch it without their end of the year list, I think they'll really like it. Because right now people compete with movies and they diss other ones because they think these are all going to be nominated for Oscars and such. But
yeah, and it's like it's not. That's why I'm hyping this up so now. This is not gonna be in conversation for anything.
Yeah.
Except
but
that
that's
it's
not
the
why.
best
But it's
horror
also
movie of
why
the
we
year.
watch movies differently.
Yeah.
We're here because we're highlighting what 10 years down the line we're going to enjoy.
Yeah, and
Not
I think
what
to
we
me,
want to
I
beat
think
out with somebody else.
yeah, Talk to Me has like It Follows legs in my opinion. I think it's in that same vein of horror where it's doing something a little bit different while still playing into what makes horror such a good genre to begin with. I love it. I think it is the best horror movie of the year. I think it's just in recent memory.
It is the best horror movie of the year.
Yeah.
It definitely is the best horror movie of the year. I would put a third approval on that. It's funny or maybe appropriate that you mentioned films like Hereditary and It Follows, other films that had like big hype generating debuts at film festivals, and then ultimately maybe some audiences didn't feel like it lived up to the expectations, as Art mentioned, that like you put so high. It's like when you compare it to the Babadook and to Hereditary and stuff, like I don't know if it's like my favorite horror movie of the 2010s or 2020s or whatever. It's really good and it's a really nasty piece of work, and it's
up there
like
for me.
it also really announces these guys as very interesting filmmakers. I think there's a level of craft here that is worth recognizing and celebrating, because just some of the sequences are so disturbing and thrilling, and I just think it's ultimately the like unreserved way in which they indulge certain nasty ideas here.
Yeah,
that
and on
sells
like a
it to
$4
me.
million budget, something like that,
and
like something like $4
They're
million.
very creative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to do all that in a movie that isn't just like tasteless vulgarity, tasteless body horror, but there's like themes, there's ideas, there's really
Very good
strong
themes.
a really
good
strong
themes.
sense of like the world that these characters live in. I don't know. I think there's a lot to really celebrate and Talk to Me. I didn't have it on my list, but it is definitely my favorite horror movie of the year.
Yeah,
Did you
that's
have
totally
it
fair.
as top 20, 30?
I got it. I got it top 25, but it's
That's
just
fair
because
for
this
you.
year
That's
is so
decent.
stacked.
Hey,
That
that's
for
good.
you that's good, because like horror is not the thing you
Not my
gravitate
favorite genre,
towards. I just think it's really good. I also do think it's an easier recommend than something like a Hereditary or a Babadook.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that's like the artistic people coming up being like, this is terrifying, and then you send a teenager to that, and most
they're like-
teenagers are like goofing off half the movie.
They're like
until
Jenna
that thing
Ortega in
happens.
Scream 5, who like to talk about it
Yes.
being
Yeah,
a meditative
you know?
whatever. But even how
Yeah,
Zach mentioned it, those movies were considered overhyped.
Yeah.
Time passes, and all of a sudden, that's the staple they have to go back to. So those who
Exactly.
just talk to me, to hear them 3-4 years down the line talk about like, oh, we haven't had a talk to me.
Yeah, and the thing that same thing happened with It Follows. Like it hit instantly for me, but other people like I think it still has a pretty low IMDb score, which is
That's a
where you
movie.
normally see the lower things.
Yeah, that I
It's
respected
so
and has
good.
grown on me every single year.
I love it.
Every
It hit
single
me
year there's a
instantly,
new
and I
thing
still
inside of
love it. And it's held
That's power of
enough
horror.
dominance that it's getting its sequel. For
What is it?
you
They
know,
follow?
They follow.
They
Yeah.
follow? That's raw, bro.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm hoping for the best, but yeah. So that's why it's my number 4. It's kind of stayed with me for so long, and then I think that audiences did back it up. You know, people turned out for it, like legitimately. And even with overhype, if that many people keep showing up with it week after week, that it keeps staying in theaters week after week, when it was supposed to get one of those limited run type things where every theater should have seen it maybe for 2 weeks if you were lucky, and then it's in for like a month or two in some places. That's awesome. That's great for them. They deserve it.
Yeah.
All right, Talk to Me, number 4 on Amanda's list.